you know.
What bothers you the most right now?
Nothing.
Nothing bothers you?
You looking at your phone while we're doing this interview and everybody seeming disinterested.
Wait, are you being serious about that?
Yeah, that annoyed me.
Really?
Yes. Say again?
I've never been more excited. I'm sorry. I had to
Don't
look at my notes.
apologize. You don't have
No.
to apologize. You asked me what annoyed me, and I gave you an honest answer.
Sup? After seeing the whole Andrew Shultz and Nelk Boy situation, I wanted to make a quick video talking about the topic because it seems like a lot of people haven't watched the full podcast and they're making opinions in the comments that are really wrong and trashing Andrew Shultz for no reason. Now, I'm not an Andrew Shultz fan by any means, but it was clear in this podcast that he was trying really hard to have a good conversation with the Nelk Boys, and they all were just brain dead idiots. And it's not just Steiny. He actually tried the hardest compared to everyone else. I put most of the blame on Kyle and Steve will do it. They just seemed disinterested and they were just letting Andrew Schultz pretty much interview them. Meanwhile, Steiny was trying to ask questions as much as possible, but he made one fatal mistake about 30 minutes into the podcast that changed the whole vibe of the conversation. And the podcast kind of just fell flat after that and it got really awkward. And it eventually led up to a point where Andrew Schultz had to confront Steiny and put him on blast. And I feel like a lot of people are going to cover it wrong, so I just wanted to talk about it real quick. So let's get right into it. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys all know the context, how this was filmed back in November and they barely released it now due to all the controversy around it. But now that it's out, you can see that it was your basic, typical Nelk Boys podcast with them asking horrible questions. But where the energy really started to change in the podcast was about 15 minutes in when Schultz was talking about marriage and somebody off camera was directing Steiny to fix his mic, and it kind of just rubbed Schultz the wrong way.
I just let him leave. He finished eating at the restaurant, and then I said,
It's all right, bro.
yeah, it was cool. Yeah, marriage is cool, man. I should get married.
Talked about Miss.
And from that point, it was like Andrew Schultz interviewing the Nelk Boys. He was asking Kyle about Happy Dad and asking Steve will do it about his cancellation. But where things pretty much started to tip over was when Schultz was lecturing Kyle about business and contracts. And Kyle was kind of just there like a dumbass teen, like, yeah, for real. And then Steiny was checking his phone. And it even looked like Steve will do it might have been on his phone too. And after that, the whole vibe of the podcast was just done.
I think we lost him.
What?
No, my fault. I don't even know where I was gonna go. Where are we at?
I have no idea.
And I actually kind of feel really bad for Schultz right here. It kind of looks like this is the moment he realized that the Nelk Boys don't really know who he is or really care who he is. And it seems to really kind of hurt him. So at that point, Schultz kind of just kept to himself and stayed a little more reserved, all the way up until the point that he felt like he had to confront Steiny and call him out.
What bothers you the most right now?
Nothing.
Nothing bothers you?
You looking at your phone while we're doing this interview and everybody seeming disinterested.
Were you looking at notes or texting girls?
Notes.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Me taking time out of my day to do this and then feeling
Dude,
like
I've never
I'm forcing you guys to do the podcast.
So you can see right here, he calls the entire group out, not just Steiny, because Kyle and Steve were being terrible podcast hosts. And he makes a little comment saying that whenever he likes to host a podcast guest, he likes to research them so he feels more comfortable around them and things aren't so awkward, kind of calling them out basically. Schultz is pretty much done with the Nelk Boys and all he was doing was just attacking Steiny for the rest of the podcast.
Usually driving the interview?
Why? You don't think
No, not really. I mean, it's not my favorite.
this is a joke? I don't understand.
Uh,
God, I feel like you came at me a little bit there.
why do you feel bad?
I just feel like you targeted me. Did you or no?
Oh, I
Why'd you
thought
come
you were
at me
just
so
being a
hard?
little annoying.
How?
I think you're annoying.
Another thing that I forgot to mention was a couple of times throughout the podcast, a producer would come in and interrupt by moving the Happy Dad boxes and angling them at the camera a little bit and just kind of just messing with the product placement.
I don't know if you're playing a character or you're having like an insecure moment. If you're having a vulnerable, insecure moment, then I want to like
No,
talk
I mean,
about
I'm
it.
kind of playing something, but what?
Oh, if you're playing
what did I
something-
say that triggered
Well,
you
no.
to say that? What did I say that triggered you?
Do you find it hard to be yourself?
I do, bro.
Do you think?
But I get shit on a lot for doing that.
It's hard to be around people who are being themselves
But
and
wait,
not
what
be
did
yourself.
what did I do that pissed you off?
I wouldn't say I was pissed off. Why would you say
Or what did I do that annoyed you?
you were the one that came back and said that you felt hurt?
I do feel hurt because I feel like you got pissed off at me.
Well, that's what happens when you have real reactions when you're being phony.
When was
you're
I phony?
with somebody
When
and
was
then
I
you get a
phony
real
with you?
reaction, you can't be upset.
When was I phony
But
with
you're
you?
doing exactly what you should do. You should try to get your moments. This is a good moment for you.
You think I'm doing this for clicks?
Even the way your voice sounds when you say it isn't real.
Are you
Do
serious
you think
right
you're
now?
being real?
So pretty much the podcast ended shortly after this. There wasn't really much going on besides Schultz roasting Steiny. And they uploaded this podcast to Twitter about 12 hours ago. I've been reading the replies to the tweets and also the clips being uploaded to YouTube. And it seems that a lot of people are attacking Schultz, saying that without yes men around him, he's pretty insecure and he showed a lot of insecurity and he was so fragile. But I think Shultz was just upset that the Nelk boys were just terrible podcast hosts and kind of disrespecting him during his interview. I mean, they had producers interrupting, they had people going on their phones while he was telling stories, and they weren't even asking questions about his career. Like, he was pretty much interviewing the Nelk boys throughout the whole interview. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make this video real quick just to kind of get my point out there. I feel like a lot of people are really seeing it just one way, when if you watch the full podcast, it's pretty clear to see why Andrew Shultz was upset. But what do I know? Let me know what you guys think. Have a good one.